21 minutes. The applicant will then have a 2-minute closing statement. So assuming that we adhere to the strict timeline and the minimum time allotted will be 26 minutes times 6 interviews, or it would be 156 minutes, we will have rounded our session to 2 hours and 40 minutes. I just want to announce at this time that when that clock goes off, I will ask you to cease speaking. If you continue, I don't want to be rude, but I will mute your mic so that every candidate has equal opportunity to address the board with an equal amount of time. So I just want to state that ahead of time. So please stay within your time frame. So I believe we have a process where we're going to be randomly selecting the applicant. I also understand that we have a room that has been secured for us, and I'll let Vice President Cunha explain why.
So so that no applicant has an unfair advantage in regard to the questions, although we cannot force you to leave the room, we are asking that you sequester yourself in the cafe. Is that agreeable with all the candidates?
And explain why.
The reason, just we don't want to give an unfair advantage. We're going to be asking a lot of the same questions. Obviously, the candidates who go later can listen to the answers, have more time to formulate, an answer that they maybe want to formulate. So, okay. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Thank you.
You don't have to go, but if you don't, we'd probably look down upon you.
And
We will call you.
President Rodriguez, sir.
Member Arroyo.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, we can't legally ask any of you to leave the room because this is a public hearing, and everyone has the same right to be here. We will just be cognizant that if one of you guys stays here, we're watching you take notes while we're asking questions, and that might inform us as to what kind of decision we should make. So.
Oh, they're waiting for the first draw, and then we'll give time for the room to clear, so to speak.
Are you drawing all at this time? Or?
No, you want to draw all in order? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Ferguson, draw them all. The lineup.
Catherine Tobias, come on down.
We're going to actually call all of our, Miss Tobias, we will call all of our lineup, and then we'll ask you to come on down.
Bina Lefkowitz, Lefkowitz, come on down, but don't come on down. Oops. David Ross, number 3.
Yeah.
Jay Hansen, number 4. Gwynne Bird, number 5. Anna Molander, number 6.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson.
You're welcome.
We will give you a call for those of you who are going to leave the room. You know your number.
Where are we going with the first
Got a quarter? I don't care. We're going to give a couple of board members some time to get back and then give myself some time to get some tea. So I'm going to call a 2-minute recess.
If there's any water. Miss Kua told me, no, just water. Now, the one time I don't do something, everybody wants it.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna run over get some tea.
You know that this was on purpose, just like.
Coffee, yeah. Get it.
Where's our new board member? I now call this meeting back to order. I will like to call Ms. Catherine Tobias to the podium. We will give you 3 minutes on the clock, and you, as soon as you start speaking, the clock will start.
May I ask a question first?
Sure.
Would you like us to stay around while everybody else has gone through those, or when we're done, should we go ahead and leave?
Good question. You could sit
okay.
down afterward.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. Board member, President Rodriguez and board members, I'm here tonight as a parent who's very concerned with our schools. I'm not anticipating using this as a first step to higher office. I have worked at Crocker Riverside, Sutterville, Cal Middle, and now McClatchy in many positions over the last 13 years, from reading with second graders to fundraising to chaperoning field trips to working in the counseling office at McClatchy to running the Rizzo machine. And now I will have the time. My son is a senior at McClatchy. He's moving off to college, God willing. And I'll have time to spend with the parents, the teachers, and administrators to be at the schools, listening to parents, and bringing these concerns to the district level. I've been president of the site council at Sutterville, Cal Middle, and McClatchy. I've sat side by side with the principals from these schools and with the parents, the staff, working on prioritization of problems to be accomplished with fewer and fewer resources every year. I'd like to touch on some of the issues that are of particular interest to me. They include the teacher evaluation process, charter schools, declining enrollment, vocational education, summer school, and the budget process. One, I believe that the people who operate most closely to the students, our teachers, are the most important component of the equation for dealing with education issues, along with parents, of course. Every study I looked at over the last several weeks has eliminated the other variables, and it really comes down to the teachers. I do support a teacher evaluation process, but I don't believe that the test scores should be the major determinant of the teacher's success. We should be attracting the top students graduating from college, and that will require higher pay and increased status for our teachers. Two, I support public schools I do not support privatized schools or vouchers. I'm not a huge fan of charter schools, but I do think that they have a place in the mix of solutions necessary to solve the complex problems in this district. 3, we need to get out and further out in front of our declining enrollment issues, which drive decisions about closing schools and programs we offer. We need to look more at the magnets that have been initiated, especially in areas where the population of school-age children have decreased. 4, I'd like to see some rethinking about vocational education. 5th, one of our highest priorities should be to get summer school back. Statistics are clear that the no schools for 3 months is a major detriment to groups that are already impacted. And 6, I think we need to find a way to obtain more input from the public on budget issues. It's critical to the buy-in of the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping within the time frame. Ms. Katrina Yee, Student Board Member Yee, do you have your questions prepared? Will you be able to ask questions? Not at this moment, okay. We'll start with Member Kennedy.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Being a school board member doesn't require a huge amount of time, but it requires some specific amounts of time. You work in a state position, right?
I do.
Is it difficult to get away? I mean, for example, we start at 4:30. That's when closed session is, when a lot of important stuff happens. Is that going to be a problem for you?
It's not really a problem for me. I have a flexible schedule. I'm fairly senior in my legal office, and
I wouldn't say that.
Pardon me?
Go ahead.
So I think that I'm able to basically work with that. I work pretty long hours. I have clients who are able to call me at home, and I've been able over the years, for instance, right now I work in the counseling office 2 afternoons a month. I've been able to work with that. So I'm not anticipating any problem with that. And what I actually would like to do with my free time is to make sure that I am available to people at the different sites. So I do anticipate visiting all the schools as quickly as I can. I do anticipate being at different meetings, such as ELAC meetings and meetings where we've got parents who generally are not as involved perhaps as we'd like in the process. I think that's been one of the toughest parts of my working through the different schools, is to get parents involved. It's pretty easy at Crocker Riverside and a school like that, but even at Sutterville with people working childcare, things like that, I want to reach out to those people. Somebody mentioned having office hours, but I don't want people to have to come to me. I would like to go out to them and basically do that, and I think I will have that time. In fact, I know I will have that time, so I think that'll be very workable.
What's your philosophy on the trustee area concept that we have adopted in the district?
Well, I think it's really imperative to have it, the district divided up by the different areas, if that's what you're asking me. I think it allows us to get the representation that we need for each district. I was reading some history, and I guess right before they changed to the area representatives, I think it said that perhaps 6 of the representatives were all from Land Park right before they broke it up. So, I think that there's a lot of civic-minded people who want to be able to do this kind of thing, but really we need to have the representation in those areas to be able to bring all these concerns forward.
And you've mentioned vocational education as one of your 5 things, but you didn't talk about how you would do that. What do you have in mind?
Well, I think what I would like to see is I would like to see vocational education brought back into more of the schools. My son would have liked to have taken some vocational ed classes, but we couldn't shift him from school to school. And I think what we need to do is we need to value the vocational education. I was reading a lot about Finland and how they've really meshed their process so that you don't really differentiate between the academic side and the vocational side until you're pretty much up at the end of high school. And so I think it should be okay for students to be able to take both of them, and there ought to be an emphasis. I think President Obama basically said, we need high skill workers, and I think with both the academic and the vocational, we could do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Vice President Wu.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Thank you for showing an interest in becoming a trustee in District Area 1. So we face some very, very difficult decisions. You may have heard earlier from Member Arroyo that in the last 10 years, we've cut our budget by almost $200 million. And that's huge in a budget that annually we only have, we have a budget of plus or minus $1 million or so, around $400 million. So I'm interested in right-sizing this school district, but those are very, very difficult decisions when you have to, if closing schools is one of those options that you put on the table. So share with me what your thoughts about how we may go about if we decide that we're going to go forward with school closures, how we might do that effectively and equitably.
Well, I think that when I looked at the statistics on school closures, we have several schools. I know the board closed one school, but I believe the others are still operating at the moment. And these schools are really at less than 50% capacity, and I think that's really difficult to, in this day and age with this budget, to devote those kinds of resources to that situation. I think that we need to get out in front of the school closures. We need to look at those facilities. We need to see whether there's magnet programs that can be put in there that would draw people from other districts where we could maybe smooth out some of the other areas. I think the addition of the IB programs to some of the other schools is going to help smooth that out a little bit, but I think we need to look at magnets primarily. But then I also think we have to be clear that the board has to run a very lean district at this point. And so I think what parents want, in fact, I know what parents want, is they want a neighborhood school. But I also think that most parents will understand if they have received the information in a upfront way and in a timely way to be able to say, we can't keep this school open without a change in what's happening here. And then I think we need to work with and see what's the best way to accommodate those students. I know it's an awful decision, but I don't see how the district, cannot do something about that.
We will be coming shortly into our budget process. And then we make tough decisions around March. So January, February, March is the times when we start reviewing the budget. Share with us, please, what your experience is in creating or proposing and working to adopt budgets.
Okay. I've actually worked with several nonprofits in the Sacramento area. Both of them had budgets over $1 million, which I know is a little smaller than the school district. But nevertheless, it involved resources. It involved basically making decisions, having priorities. So I think that I actually have had a fair amount of experience with working with budgets. I'm familiar and I'm comfortable with reading budgets, with understanding budgets. And I will say I've also taken the training on how to understand the district's, I don't know what you call it, the deeper budget, not the overall budget, but how to basically read the budget. And so I've had, with that training, I've basically delved into it with respect to at least McClatchy's issues.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect session there. Okay, my turn. As you know, the District of Sacramento City Unified School District is an extremely diverse community. We have both, or all three of the ethnic makeup of diversity we have social economically as well. And then certainly we have a diversity in individual trustee areas. And where you could represent one area that's more affluent and another area that's not so affluent, which trustee area number one does hold. So tell me your experience on how you view the world of diversity and how you would represent an area like trustee area one.
I didn't hear that last part.
How would you represent an area like trustee area one?
Oh,
Let me just clarify
okay.
that point. How would you represent an area like trustee area one with that makeup of diversity and ensure equitable access across the board?
Right. Equitable access to?
Education.
Okay, thanks. I think that one of the real strengths of Sacramento is due to the way partially that it developed. We have a very diverse community, and I think it's the way that it developed with lots of different groups ending up in different areas. I think we're very lucky to have kind of the geographic distribution that we do. I think that I would need to, at least at first for Area 1, become more familiar with some of the schools that my child did not attend. I'm pretty familiar with the ones that he did attend. So I would probably shift my attention to those other schools, at least for a while, not trying to basically ignore the ones that I've worked with, but I would like to get to know the other schools. I'm pretty familiar. We've stayed involved with Cal Middle, stayed involved with Sutterville, and so I know those schools and I know a lot of their issues. I know their principals. So I'd be basically trying to move to the other side of the district to maybe get to know William Land School. But I think I've worked really hard through Sutterville and McClatchy to basically deal with diverse interests. That's been one of my main pushes, is to get the parents in who don't find it as easy to access school as some of us do. And so that would be one of my main intents, is to basically work with those parents and get them into the school system. I think our parent university is a huge step. I think that's already working really well at McClatchy. But I would really want to reach out to the other schools and work with them at least first.
And last question, if you can get it in, is how would you handle the political pressure that comes with being a board member?
I'm actually a land use attorney. That's my main training, as well as a planner. And I think we basically kind of live in a stew, if you will, of political pressure. That's really something that I'm pretty familiar with, and I don't think I'll have a problem.
Thank you. Vice President Cuneo.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
You made a statement in your opening that either you don't want to use test scores in teacher evaluations or a diminished part of that. Could you just explain your thinking?
Sure. I think that there is a big controversy at this point about whether to use test scores as part of the teacher evaluation. So let me say first, I do really support teacher evaluations. I think that's something that we need to move further and faster on than we have at this point. I would like to see more done with the evaluation system. I'd like to see perhaps a impartial evaluator, not even somebody who is employed by the district, but perhaps an outside team who does that kind of evaluation, at least initially. I do think the scores have to be a part of it, but I don't think that they should be anything more than, for instance, 40%, 30%. At least at this point, there's too many variables. There's just too many other things to evaluate. But I do think that test scores do tell us a lot about what's going on in the schools and who's learning and who's not. And so what we've done at McClatchy with the site council the last couple of years is really concentrated on the below basics, the 25 to 50%, where we basically feel that we can bring our resources into that learning group and try to basically boost them, and that's where our interests have been. So the whole key is the teachers at this point. All the studies seem to indicate that once they've looked at all the variables, they've looked at schools that supported the students with health and all, a lot of, counseling and all these kinds of things, and when you really take it all away, it's the teachers.
What's your thoughts on the overall achievement levels of the district at this time?
Well,
and I guess as a board member, how would you join that conversation?
I think, I know there's a lot of people who don't, who feel like, we are too involved in teaching to the test, that it's taken up all the creativity and time to do other things. But I have to say that I think what it's really doing is putting a lot of the students on an even ground. That what it's enabled us to do is to really focus in and see where the issues really are. And so I think that what I'm hoping that we do over the next couple of years is that I hope there's the emphasis still on honing in on the fact that we need our students, as they move along year to year, to be bringing the skills that they should have up to the next year and not get to high school or college where they really can't, write a good paper. And so I think the test scores are really important, but I think there's a lot of other important things too. So I'd like to see a mix.
Thank you. Member Arroyo.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Thank you for coming in and indulging us with this. Number one, what are the biggest challenges that you think the district is facing? And be as specific as you can. And from your perspective.
I think one of the biggest issues that we need is I think we need to get everybody on the same page in the sense that the parents, the teachers, the unions, the board, the district all need to be moving in the same direction, and that we have to understand that there will be accommodations, that there'll be wins, if you will, losses, if you will. But when you look at some of the districts that have applied for the race to the top, when there's been that kind of money involved, they brought their districts together, they brought their unions in, and everybody has basically said, let's go for this. And I think that if we can do that here, if we can really find our common ground and realize that it is all for the students, I think that that would move us so much further in terms of accomplishing the goals. I think we've got a good strategic plan. I think we've got good people in place. I think there's a lot of really good movements, but I think everybody needs to understand that without all the parts, we're not going to move as fast as we need to.
Okay, thank you. And then also, what do you think is the role of the board member?
I think the role of the board member is to be prepared. I think it's important to come to meetings where you've read the agenda items, where you understand it, where you've had some thought put into it. I think a board member needs to be respectful of the people who come in front of the board, respectful of the other board members, respectful of the staff. I think a board member needs to leave their biases, if you will, maybe their preconceived ideas, and come with an open mind. I think a board member needs to know what their district thinks, and so I think that it's important that just as you come with an open mind, that you also come with some sense of what the district really needs in terms of the resources and the questions that are coming up, and that's something that I would want to spend some time on.
And then, if in 15 seconds, what do you think? What is your describe our governance model?
Well, the governance model, I think, really makes it really helps makes it clear where the board works and where the staff works.
Okay.
Sorry.
Succinct.
Yeah, exactly. You passed that one. Member Pritchett.
Thank you, President Rodriguez, and thank you for being here tonight.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am a big community person, and my question is community. I believe community engagement leads to better education for our students and the unity in our schools. Can you please share with us how you've engaged in your community this far in recent years?
My engagement really for the last 13 years has been with the schools. When I had my son a little late in life, and that's really what I decided to do. So my work with nonprofits was really prior to that time. And so what I decided to do was just to make the schools my involvement. So what I've really done is I've done everything that I can at a school. I've done everything from organizing a cleanup day at McClatchy to basically working in the counseling office, all of that. I will say also, that I've worked also very hard with the Boy Scouts. I always feel somewhat apologetic, basically saying Boy Scouts because I'm not at all in harmony with some of their beliefs. But I have to say that the Boy Scouts has been a wonderful situation for my son. I'm a single mom, and it's just been a great place. Plus, I really don't like to camp, and it was a good thing to have him learn camping and all that. So he's actually just about finished with his Eagle Scout, and so that's where I've been the committee chair, which is the equivalent of the Scoutmaster with it, and I've worked up from the pack with the Cub Scouts to the Boy Scouts. So it's all been pretty child-oriented.
Great. And my apologies, I walked in as you were starting your opening statement. Did you say your child is at McClatchy now?
He is. He's a senior at McClatchy.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually here working on his computer.
Oh, right over there. Okay. Can you tell me, if appointed to represent Area 1, how you would engage yourself within the community to support the efforts of the SUSD?
Well, as I did mention at the start, I really do see this board position as an outreach. What I want to do is I want to be out in the community. I anticipate being at the carnivals, being at different meetings, finding out from the principals, what kinds of meetings I could be at, and I want to have a particular focus on getting parents in who aren't the people who are always coming in. I have an article on the McClatchy website that basically tells parents how to get involved with their student's school, that it's important that their student be in a group, and so that's really been my focus, especially at McClatchy for the last 4 years.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes our questions, and so we'll give you another, let me just remind myself, 2 minutes for your closing.
Okay. As I mentioned, I'm a single mom. I'm a product of public schools, Los Angeles City schools up to junior high, and then basically a single high school for a county in San Benito County through high school. My family has served on school boards. My parents, one on grammar school board, one on high school board. I have a brother who's worked with school boards, a sister-in-law, et cetera. So school has been public schools are incredibly important to my family. And I want to be able to give something back. I think my son's had a really good education. I'm not going to say he had a great education, but I think he got out of it what he needs to do to go on. It's been a couple of tough years for our district. And so I have the time, and I want to devote that time. I have the experience and the expertise to help find good solutions to really what are some seemingly intractable problems. I was very excited over the last couple of weeks as I did the research for this for this position. I read Class Warfare by Brill that was absolutely fascinating on trying to put all the issues in perspective. I'm a high-energy person. I'm trained in ways to bring people together, to work collaboratively, and to deal with issues that are under dispute. I have a very deep interest in working with public schools that have really provided so much to me and my son. So I would really hope to be appointed to this position. I think it would be thrilling, and I have a lot of interest in doing what I can to solve some of our problems.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
with that, you may take your seat. I do have a request from I guess everyone in the back, that Miss Anna Molander does not feel well, and they would like for her to go next. And they suggest an order will be Anna Molander, then followed by the rest of the lineup. So is that agreeable to the board? Okay, thank you. So we will call forth Anna Molander.
Message to the jury.
So jury spoken.